To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Can anybody beat Sovereignty in the Jim Dandy? Let's discuss. Hi everyone, Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets, along with my colleague Kaylie Shapiro, and we're here for the big Jim Dandy preview taking place at Saratoga on Saturday, July 26th, which marks the return of Sovereignty, who won the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont Stakes. But before we get into that, I want to remind you to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. Subscribing is entirely free of cost, just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, weekly programs, and so much more. So press that like and subscribe button today. Right now up on the channel, you have a great interview with Cherie DeVoe.
Yeah, everyone should definitely check that out. Nick and myself had a great conversation with Cherie. She told great stories about her upbringing, going out on her own as a trainer, and gave some updates about some of the horses in her barn as well. Yeah. So it's definitely worth a listen.
Absolutely, including Zenyatta's last foal.
Yes.
Very exciting about that. So, yeah, great interview. Definitely want to check that out. We have a lot of content for you up here on the NYRA Bets YouTube channel, so press that like and subscribe button today. Well, like I said, it is time to talk about the Jim Dandy. It might only be a 5-horse field, but it's the right 5 horses, that's for sure. And it's a competitive field insofar as if there's going to be anyone outside of journalism who could potentially beat Sovereignty, it feels like this is the collection of horses that might be able to do it, or at least come closest to being able to do it in terms of Sandman, in terms of Baeza, in terms of, some horses that were knocking on the door in some of these big Triple Crown races. Listen, I think you and I are very much so aligned with this. You've been on Sovereignty since last fall. Yes. Okay. It's been a minute since, you've been on this horse for a long time. Exciting to see him run, obviously, on Saturday.
Yeah, it's so exciting to see him run. I mean, he's a Derby winner, Belmont winner, and I think you're 100% right. I don't think I believe there's no one in here that's going to beat him on Saturday.
Yeah.
But this field is the most ripe for an upset out of any other race that you could say that, any other field he could have potentially faced. For example, in the Haskell, if you were looking at it, Gosker, Burnham Square, you wouldn't even factor them on the same level as Sovereignty. I don't factor these horses on the same level either, but you have to take some of them seriously that are coming in here with consistent triple-digit buyer speed figures.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right. Baeza is just knocking at the door.
Yeah.
Shipping back and forth, certainly a question, but you're right. This is the right group.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting group, and we'll dive into this field of 5. And listen, it is one of those things. Like I said, you've been on Sovereignty since the Street Sense last fall. I've been trying to beat Sovereignty in literally every single one of his races this year. I thought the first time off the bench, he wouldn't be 100% cranked. I had River Thames. I was almost right by a nose, but I was wrong. Second time out, I was right. I had Tapan Street that day when he maybe wasn't 100% cranked for the Florida Derby. Then I got too cute for myself in both the Derby and in the Belmont Stakes, and I went with journalism. And part of it was I thought journalism had a strategic advantage over Sovereignty in terms of where he could be placed in the field relative to Sovereignty. I thought, well, he's going to have 5, 6, 7 length Cushing turning for home. And Junior Alvarado has done just such a brilliant job jockeying Sovereignty to negate any sort of advantage that journalism might have had. And then last time out, he showed a completely new dimension of the Belmont Stakes, laying so close to the pace.
Yeah, definitely. You have to give huge props to Junior Alvarado. He's a great jockey and clearly fits with this horse so well, like a glove.
Yeah.
But you can also credit the fact that the horse has always been a super athletic, big. I mean, everything about the way that horse's mechanics are and the way that he moves, you can kind of tell that he could have been a versatile type. It just so happens that in those races, it made sense for him to sit that far back in the Derby. In the Belmont, it didn't. He needed to sit a little bit closer, and that's just how athletic the horse is and how talented. I thought that he would be able to do that when the time came that he would have to.
Yeah.
And I believe that this is another situation where we're going to see him sitting pretty close.
I think so. I mean, just the nature of a short field. We can get into the pace scenario here a little bit in a second. But, I think one of the big distinctions between a horse like Sovereignty and let's say Sierra Leone from last year is Sierra Leone, when you see him, is a beautifully balanced horse and a beautiful physical specimen. But I wouldn't necessarily refer to him as athletic in the same way that Sovereignty is. And I also think of a horse like Tapit Trice, who is a little bit more of a closer as well. And again, kind of a clunkier, rather unathletic
100%.
horse who needed a lot of open space
100%.
to get that stride going. Sovereignty is, to your point, more athletic, and while he is physically imposing, he is not he's not slender, but he's sleek in in an athletic sort of a way.
He's definitely, I think it comes with his movement. He has big body. I mean, he's a big body horse. You can't miss him. I mean, when that horse comes onto the Oklahoma, it's incredible to see. I mean, just his chest and how powerful it is and the way that he moves. It's all down to that. The horse's mechanics are why he's so great.
Yeah.
And definitely last time out in the Belmont, he showed a complete different dimension that almost made me think, it's what we're talking about. But also, I hate to use the word push button because that almost seems like anyone could be sitting on the horse's back, which I don't believe.
Yeah.
But clearly the horse listens to what he's told to do, and he's a pretty smart horse. He has a good head. So.
Yeah, and I think push button, sometimes people associate that with instant acceleration. You know, and it's not necessarily that it's instant acceleration, but you're right. He responds exactly when Junior wants him to respond. And it doesn't have to be a huge burst. It can be a little bit of a slower grind, but he responds. This is now we have to get going after this, or hey, I got to really get going out of the gate. Whatever the case might be. But listen, let's talk about this field of 5. Baeza coming in from California for trainer John Sheriff's. This is a horse, obviously, ran 3rd in the Kentucky Derby, ran 3rd in the Belmont. The very famous family being the half-sibling to 2023 Kentucky Derby winner Mage, 2024 Belmont Stakes winner Dornoch. This one, though, Baeza sired by McKinsey rather than Good Magic, which is the sire of the other two. Listen, when you and I saw him at the Belmont, we both thought maybe physically he needed to continue to mature a little bit. And the word out in California is that he has been maturing and that he has kind of filled out and that the works have been looking stronger and better. We'll see. I'm eager to get my eyes on him here in Saratoga, see what he looks like.
Definitely. And we're going to be out there tomorrow morning and hopefully get a good look at him and provide updates on NYRA Bets Twitter. So definitely look out for that. I haven't seen him yet after he shipped in to Saratoga. You know, he's in my top 3. How can the horse not be? It's a 5-horse field. He's, like you said, knocking at the door. He's run some pretty big races, triple-digit speed figures. I mean, there's no denying that the horse is talented. I think that he's a clear notch below Sovereignty. And also the reason why I have him 3rd instead of 2nd is because I think that we're going to see this horse do something that I'm not 100% sure that he can do. I think that we're going to see him do something for the first time on Saturday. I have a feeling that this horse might be up on the lead.
So that's, I think, an interesting development, which is Baeza versus Moplex, and which one of these horses goes to the front, because those are the 2 horses, when you look at it, who clearly have the best early speed. Hill Road, listen, we could have him with a horse and buggy, and he might not get to the lead first. I mean, he's just incredibly slow out of the gate, just has no early turn of foot at all. Sandman is an X factor, which you've done a lot of digging on, and I want to give you space to talk about that. But it really does seem to come down to Baeza and Moplex.
What do you think?
Part of me thinks the rail forces Hector Berrios with Baeza to go a little bit more, although it's such a short field, I'm not sure that really matters. I think ideally Moplex might be the fastest, though, because he's the sprinter out of this group. He's the one who's been stretching out. He's the one who's won at 6 furlongs, won at 7 furlongs, and just came out of an ideal trip in that Ohio Derby where he stalked the pace, but I mean, he could have easily gone to the front. So I have a feeling Jeremiah's going to, and Manny Franco is going to go with Moplex to the front. I think Baeza is probably going to be intent to track from right off of that. I think Sovereignty is going to keep Baeza company kind of right next to that horse.
That's
kind of the way I see it into the first turn. But if you tell me Baeza leads into the first turn, I wouldn't be mad at you. I wouldn't say that's impossible at all.
Yeah, definitely just a feeling I have. I mean, looking at Moplex's race, I mean, if I was Moplex, would I want to be sitting up on the lead, getting 1 1/8 at Saratoga? Sure, he did it in the Ohio Derby. He had a dream trip. Why not try to replicate that trip? Baeza's going out. I mean, if Moplex is up on the lead, Baeza is sitting there pressuring that horse the whole time. But that's a horse that has the foundation to get the distance.
But here's the question. Will Baeza press? Or will Baeza just sit off and make sure that Hector stays a length off of Moplex? Or is he applying pressure, which, again, if you're applying too much pressure, everybody knows who that's setting up for then. the big man.
Yeah.
So, on a certain level, you want to milk out those fractions as much as possible on the front end.
For sure, but I just don't think that anyone's going to get loose here. And I think that Baeza and Moplex, no matter which order you put them in, no matter which way they break, I think either way is super logical. We'll see.
Yeah.
I see these two up front.
Sure.
And, I see, them kind of going at one another up front and Sovereignty sitting off the two of them.
And I want to give you some space to talk about Sandman, who's your second choice. And this is a horse that I am all the way out on, and I have been for quite a while. Until Cornucopian and Speed King decide to run in the same race. I don't, I just don't like this horse. He gives me Tapit Trice vibes. He just gives me vibes of like people chasing this horse. And to be honest, the other thing is I just think he gets overbet a lot of times. Now this field, maybe not because of the presence of Sovereignty and Baeza, but traditionally he has been just such a bad bet relative to his chances of winning because there's so much public money on him because he's a gray, because of Griffin Johnson, the influencer. There's so much there that when you look at his odds, you're like, okay, the horse is good, but I just don't know if he's that good. But blinkers on, a little bit of a freshening, and you've been doing a lot of deep dives into this, and so I want to give you some space to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I never liked Sandman either.
No, I know.
Me and you kind of got ate up in our YouTube comments a lot for not liking Sandman during the Triple Crown Trail, but I think that this horse relishes a 1 1/8 distance. Does really well. I mean, if you look at his best races have been going a 1 1/8 distance.
Yeah.
I'm not to say that he's better at a 1 1/8, but I sort of get that feeling. That's my opinion. And I did a little bit of digging.
Yeah.
And there haven't been too many Tapits out of Distorted Humor Mare at that same cross. If you look at, top performers that are Tapits out of Distorted Humor Mares, which obviously is a sprint influence in most cases. It's not an exact science, but if you look at what's been produced from that cross, the top earners are Sandman and Constitution.
Yeah.
I looked at, Constitution, obviously, as we all know, has won at 1 1/8.
Yeah.
1 1/8. That's his best distance. And his last start, they tried the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful. And 1 1/4, and the horse was up on the lead and faded. He finished dead last. I mean, granted, you can't draw too many conclusions from that, but I just have a feeling that Sandman really could appreciate the 1 1/8 distance. I really like the way that he looks getting his blinkers on. He looks great in his works. I mean, if you look at the way that this horse is working, they have him really cranked up for this race. But I watched a video, I think, of the one from June 26th. I think that's the exact date. They have it on XBTV. And in the video, I thought that that work was easy for him.
Yeah.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
He had his blinkers on. Now he's going to race in them for the first time. I think that he's going to be sitting fourth. I mean, we know that he's going to be in front of Hill Road.
Yes.
And I think that he's going to stay more in touch with the field. And I think that, people, they get Derby fever. That's when this horse stretched out to 1 1/4 for the first time. And this horse really has not done much wrong. Separate the Derby. He finished 7th in the Derby, right?
Yeah.
3rd in the Preakness. He won the Arkansas Derby, 3rd in the Rebel, 2nd in the Southwest. I mean, this horse has done little wrong. And also, the one time he was at Saratoga, he broke his maiden there. So we know that he likes the track. He's been working well, gets blinkers on. Jose Ortiz climbs back aboard him as well. I like the way that the horse is working. He looks like a different horse to me. I'm not saying that he's going to upset the race, but I believe Baeza's not good value whatsoever at 3-1. I think that I would rather use Sandman underneath at 6-1, bet it straight, Sovereignty over Sandman, and hope that maybe I get 5-1, 4-1 on Sandman. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
Straight exacta. Baeza, I think, is going to be a shorter price. And I don't really know what Baeza has done to warrant so much more respect over Sandman. And that horse is shipping across the country, participated in a lot of races, which is great. Sandman, he raced a lot in the Derby prep season. And then now he has a freshening. He hasn't raced since the Preakness.
Yeah.
I think that the horse could be sitting on a big effort. I don't think that it's enough to beat, Sovereignty. I think he's in a class of his own. But I have a little bit of interest in him. They've been pointing to the race for a long time. I think he's fully capable of running second.
Yeah, I think he finishes last. All right. No, I don't think he finishes last. I think that I will be very interested to see the trip that he has, because the equipment change. I'm always interested in this when you have a horse that has a very distinctive running style, as Sandman does, and you put an equipment change on a horse. And you might get 4 or 5 good furlongs out of that horse with that equipment change, with the blinkers, and there's focus, and let's see how it looks at 9 furlongs. And does he wear himself out a little bit by being more forward and by exerting more energy and being more focused early in the race? Does he still have that finishing ability the last furlong now? I'm curious.
I don't think that he's going to be like sitting very close to any sort of hot pace. I think that he's going to sit closer to a moderate pace.
Yeah.
And the blinkers, besides maybe injecting a little bit of speed into the horse and waking it, you imagine. Tappets are also notoriously head cases.
Well,
I don't know about Sandman in particular.
He is too, because that Arkansas Derby, he was weaving all over the place on the stretch. Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, the blinkers, you'd imagine. I like the way the horse looks a lot with the blinkers when he's training. I think that he looks mentally alert, which is something I was lacking seeing from him during the Triple Crown season.
Yeah.
So maybe the blinkers is really what Sandman needs to stay focused. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, like you just said, looking around when he comes down the stretch.
Yeah.
I think it could help his focus level, and I think 6 to 1 is pretty decent.
If you're able to get 6 to 1, it's a good price. Now we should say he's never run a triple digit buyer, so he's going to have to get a
99.
He did run a 99 the day that they dueled each other into the ground in Arkansas with Cornucopian and Speed King, and the freshening I think helps as he had a very significant campaign from 2 to 3, and I think you can also look at him and say he just doesn't like Churchill Downs. He's 0 for 3 at Churchill with only a 3rd place finish, and that was a distant 3rd place finish behind Sovereignty back in the street sense, actually, because that's the day he lost to Tiz-tastic and Sandman. So, and his 2 worst efforts are at Churchill.
You know what I really liked?
What?
His Preakness before he went on the bench. I liked his Preakness.
Where he ran in a straight line. Yeah.
I mean, the horse finished 3rd to Journalism and Gosker. Let's look at the way those horses just ran in the Haskell.
Yeah.
That was this horse's last race, 95. That's nothing to turn your nose up at, Matthew.
I'm just saying the horse ran in a straight line because everybody else was bumping into each other or gotten loose on the lead, and everybody else just kind of like, didn't want to do a mile and 3/16, and Sandman just kind of kept running. But I don't know. Part of me was Journalism made him look like a boy in that race compared to what he did.
Well,
they're closers and they're closers.
Look like a boy, right. So I think anyone can run second here.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody could run second. I think Baeza makes a lot of sense. I think that this horse is continuing to develop.
Mm-hmm.
John Sheriffs has a very aggressive plan with this horse. The goal is the Travers. And so they want to, and I respect it, that they're continuing to take a shot against the best here. And all Baeza has done is beat everybody but Journalism and Sovereignty in his crop.
I'm sorry. What did Baeza do in the Belmont that's any different than Sandman's Preakness?
I would agree with that. That basically ran in a straight line behind the top 2 horses. I think the biggest difference was it was a 1.25 miles. We're getting cut back, which I think is beneficial for the McKinseys in particular. And so I think some of the same arguments that you're making about the Tappets, distorted humor cross mix with Sandman, I think is applicable to Baeza as well. Because I think this horse is probably best going 1.1 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And the best version of that, what you saw in the Santa Anita Derby when he almost beat Journalism.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the combination of
that's a great point.
In addition to the consistency that we've seen, and again, you look at when he's been at his best, look at that maiden breaking win and look at the Santa Anita Derby win. What do they both have in common? He's sitting within a length of the lead.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly where he's going to be.
That's what caught my eye.
And so that's the trip. That's the trip that they need. And so Sheriffs, I just think, has managed this horse beautifully. Now, it is curious. Hector Berrios comes back aboard because Flavian Pratt's not even going to be in Saratoga on Saturday. Flavian Pratt's going out to California to ride Nisos. That's a pretty good horse. So I get it. But Hector Berrios, who, by the way, has ridden this horse 3 times before, including the only time the horse won. So it's not as if Hector is coming in, cold, so to speak, off the bench. So I think Baez is a good horse. Do I love 3 to 1? No. Do I think he might actually float up a little bit from 3 to 1? Because I think Sovereignty goes off at 1 to 5. I'll be honest. I think if he doesn't, that's like the best bet in the day.
How do you feel? Because now you had Sovereignty. You could have jumped at 7 to 1, 5 to 2.
I know. Now I'm going to be on him at 2 to 5.
I'm really mad about him being 2 to 5. I wish that there was a horse in here that could take a lot more money. You know,
you wish it was journalism, right? And then it would be a little bit more of that Belmont Stakes situation. I'm going to make a slight argument for Moplex deeper underneath. I don't listen. He's not my top 2. He's my third choice. I think that this is an interesting horse who I was dead set against in that Ohio Derby. I mean, I did a preview with Ed DeRosa, and I thought Ed was crazy. He had him up top, and I thought that this is nuts. He's a complexity. There's no chance he gets a mile and 1/8. I don't even think he likes a mile, because if you had looked at his previous starts, he had never even won going a mile, and yet he gets the mile and 1/8. Now, you could say it was an ideal trip. Clever, again, was a horse that backed up at the top of the stretch. He basically inherited the lead. He sat the perfect ideal trip. You still got to get the distance, though. You still have to run the 9 furlongs. Yeah. And he had a horse like Chunk of Gold, who's a decent enough horse running after him. He had a horse like McAfee running after him. And this is a massive class test. No two ways about it. But I think he's a horse that can sit in a position where you are going to be setting moderate fractions. And you aren't going to be going 47 and change to the half. You're probably going to be going 48 plus to the half. And you're going to go 111 and 4, 112 and change to the 6 furlong. And if you're going those fractions, you know, you might be able to hold on for a piece. Do I think he can't? Listen, Sovereignty's going to blow past him, I think, at the top of the stretch. I think Baeza is going to overtake him at some point too. But I could see him holding on, and especially the way the track is playing. That's one thing to point out, that we have not seen horses make up significant ground going 2 turns at Saratoga since the start of the July 4th Racing Festival. We just, I think it's 1:4:19 at this point, coming from more than 3 lengths off the pace at the half-mile mark. So you just aren't seeing it happen. And so you want to see that front-end speed. I think he has it. Manny Franco, a jockey who's ridden him a few times before. Listen, he's a New York bred. Yes, the complexity, not going to blow you away with that distance. You do have the Uncle Mo influence underneath, which I think helps a little bit. But Jeremiah's campaigned this horse intelligently, for sure. They picked their spots. He's never finished out of the money in his life. So, you know, I think it would be a huge ask, but if he can do it in any spot, it's obviously going to be in a 5-horse field. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I again, my order, obviously, I have Sandman and Baeza underneath Sovereignty. The big horse. I think Moplex is not going to even be able to hold a light to Sovereignty, as you said. I do have concerns. I mean, I know he got the 1 1/8 distance, and he did it sitting right off the pace. I get it. But I mean, he had a dream trip. He was able to run down Clever again. I mean, that horse
horse backed up. That wasn't even running down. That horse was backed up.
He had never done anything Clever again prior to think that he's...
No.
And then after that, I mean, Chunk of Gold and McAfee were his biggest threats behind him. Obviously, they didn't catch him because they rarely catch horses in other fields. So, I mean, those horses that we just mentioned... Now it's way different. Getting that trip and that distance, soft trip, that was why I believe he was able to get the distance. And also, you're talking about the best 3-year-olds in the country now that he has to go and face. That, to me, it's a big step up off of one big figure. Granted, I like the way the horse moves. I think that he's a really nice horse. I like a lot of things about him, but I think that he's jumping into pretty tough waters off of that effort that I would be shocked if the horse, I think that he's going to finish 4th.
2 for 2 at Saratoga. Likes the spot. That's all I'm going to say.
Look at the horses, though, that he was facing.
No, I know, but I mean, those are stakes winners.
Right, I mean, this isn't illogical. It's a 5-horse field. I mean, Moplex can very much finish 3rd.
Yeah, and by the way, it could be 3rd by a distance
for sure.
Right, it could be 3rd by 8 lengths, and other people are pulling up. You know, it's one of those. It's going to be an interesting race. I feel like we've undersold Sovereignty.
He's a nice horse.
Yeah, he is. I wish I had him. We've kind of undersold Sovereignty this entire time because we've just kind of assumed, well, he's going to win this race. I have no doubt that he's going to win this race. When you look at his trajectory, it is stunning to just see the way he improves every single start. That Florida Derby is the lone asterisk. It's also the one time he didn't have Junior Alvarado on, but is also the one time you probably didn't need the win, having won the Fountain of Youth before, and they weren't trying to really go all the way out. I think one of the critiques that I've heard is that, well, I don't know about the 1.1 1/8. He might like a 1.25 miles. He might like going longer. He's better going longer, actually. I think that's foolhardy because, as you and I talked about off camera, 2 of his biggest wins were at 1 1/16 in the Street Sense and in the Fountain of Youth. So going shorter is not a problem at all for this horse.
No.
And I think he just sits the ideal trip. I don't think there's any way getting around him. He's a free square on a late pick 5. Don't get cute and overthink this thing.
I don't want to be dramatic, so I'm not going to go beyond this. In my opinion, he's the best 3-year-old we've seen since Justify.
Yeah.
The last Triple Crown winner. I think that this horse is the best that we've seen since.
I don't think that's I don't think that's unwarranted.
I mean, I might go even a little further, but I'm not going to do it on this video because I don't want to seem biased. But
well, I think
I'm calling it how, like, just that's my opinion. This horse is something very much special. I'm not going to go any further than that. But I think that he, like we said, has all the makings of a horse that is so versatile and push button and can sit any type of trip he wants.
Yeah.
And I believe that Belmont, Hall of Fame trainer Belmont, and Junior Alvarado are going to have the perfect plan.
I think
for this horse. I don't even think they're sweating it. I think that he's going to do this. He's going to win this race under wraps. And then I think that we're going to see something that we haven't seen in forever in the Travers. I think
it could be very similar to
that he
Arrogate.
Could come close to a track record is what I'm saying.
Well, that's the Arrogate. I mean, that's what Arrogate did. Yeah.
That's a big compliment.
It is. It's a massive compliment. And here's what I think. I think the only way he loses on Saturday is if Mott doesn't have him 100% cranked up and somebody like Sandman is absolutely running out of his skin. And maybe then they go, and Mott, again, always has the long view of things, goes, hey, the goal's the Travers, and beyond that, the Breeders' Cup Classic, Dubai, etc. That's the goal. This horse is 75%. And I don't think that's the case. To be clear, I don't think that's the case. But that's one argument. The other is if he loads in backwards. If he loads in backwards, I think there's a chance he loses this race. But if everybody's at 100%, I bet with both fists.
I think it's 50-50 if he loads in backwards. You know?
I think maybe. I'd still put him at even money.
No, I mean, I don't want to be
but at some point you just have to call it like it is.
No,
this horse is so much better than everybody else.
Yes, I've known it since the day I saw it. This horse breathes different air. He's a different horse that you can't compare him to really anybody else in this crop. Journalism is amazing.
Yeah.
He literally went by journalism like he was standing still, and he did it with ease.
And hand ride.
In a hand ride.
Yeah.
And he beat him by a lot in the Belmont.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to me, like I said, I think that the horse is going to win, maybe not even at his best. I think that he is at his he's in great condition. Look at him. Look at how he looks.
Yeah.
And also, the horse didn't participate in all 3 legs of the Triple Crown. It's not like he's been racing a ton that they have to save a little energy for the Travers. You know, I think that he can do this at the way he is without just fully exerting himself.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I would agree. I think he's a horse that doesn't need to be at 100% to win this type of a race. And I think he is probably going to be at 90 or 95% for this type of a race, you know, knowing that there's still a little bit more that I'm sure Mott wants to tap into leading up to the Travers and some of those biggest races, keeping the conditioning on, keeping his weight on, etc. So, listen, it's going to be fun because when you have a chance to watch a great horse run, it's always fun.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's amazing. It's a treat, but definitely, I mean, I'm kind of curious. Me and you are both in complete agreement that he's a single.
Yes.
You're going to try to find value with who you bet straight underneath him.
Yeah.
Anyone, you know, in this going into this race. But it's funny. I mean, it's fun to entertain the question because you said Sandman when you said who I believe, you know, if this horse is running out of his skin, he's super cranked up. If anyone were to upset the race, who do you think it is?
Well, I mean, Baeza is my second choice. So I think it's Baeza in terms of anybody does, because I think Baeza hasn't gotten necessarily close to sovereignty. Although I will say the Derby was the race that should give you hope. Less so the Belmont, because the Belmont, I feel like Baeza was kind of outclassed a little bit there. And everybody was outclassed, to be fair, compared to Sovereignty in that race. But it was the Kentucky Derby. That's where you saw Baeza closing very strongly as well, and nearly catching Journalism for second that day, and was not necessarily gaining on Sovereignty, but traveling at roughly the exact same speed. And I remember David Aragona had looked at the speed with which the top horses were running the final furlong, and Baeza and Sovereignty were running nearly the same speed that last furlong. So I think that if this horse can mature in terms of Baeza, maybe he's filled out a little bit more. He's been putting in some strong works out in California. John Sheriffs is not a reckless trainer. He's somebody who takes his time with horses. He's somebody who doesn't rush. He doesn't put them in spots where he feels like they're over their head. He's been to Saratoga plenty of times. He understands what it does for horses in this type of track. So I think it's Baeza if anybody can beat him.
He's a classy horse. He has every right to be in this race and to be in the conversation. Yeah. I mean, I have him third. He's a really, really nice horse.
Yeah.
I would be maybe a tiny bit. I'm not scared at all of Sovereignty not losing, but maybe that I could entertain the impossible not the impossible, but I can entertain the idea, maybe like a 15% chance. And I wonder if you agree if Baeza had stayed here.
Oh, I think that would have been interesting. And I will
ship back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth. Although we've seen Journalism ship back and forth just fine. He's a little bit of a different animal, I would agree. And he's a little bit more substantial and a little bit more battle tested at this point. But I will be interested, no matter how Baeza runs, if Sheriffs keeps this horse here. I would imagine he will for the Travers then, rather than going back to California and then back out here. I would imagine that now that he's here for the summer. And that might portend a very big effort in the Travers for him. And again, I think
Journalism's not coming.
No, he's not. Journalism looks like he's pointed to the Pacific Classic.
He can run second.
And, he's going to go against older horses out there. And I get it. They've danced a lot of dances. They've traveled that horse all across the country. He's getting a chance to stay home in his home track. And I shouldn't even say his home track, his own backyard, because he never raced at Del Mar. That's not a bad idea. You got to race in over the track where you're going to meet Sovereignty in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And it's a huge feather in his cap if he beats older company 100%. As a 3-year-old in a grade 1 like that. So 100%. We'll see. I mean, by the way, Nisos might have something to say about that. So there's a lot of nice horses. That's a good problem that we have. But listen, can we talk for 30 minutes about a 5-horse field? Well, you just saw it. And by the way, we're going to keep talking about this when the cameras turn off. Like, we're going to continue to talk about this, over the next few days here at work at Saratoga. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for this race.
Sovereignty's going to roll.
Sovereignty's going to roll. You're going to wear Godolphin blue somehow. And I might even have to wear a little bit of blue on Saturday.
Because he's your pick now.
He's my pick now.
Now we're on a team.
I'm not on him at 7-1. I'm not on him at 5-2. I'm on him at 2-5. Yeah, typical. And so this is like when I was always against In Italian for Chad Brown. I was against that horse for like 2 straight years. I finally picked the horse loses. Unbelievable. And so it's one of those things. Yeah, we'll see. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And you said, it's interesting. You said, well, listen, he's a free square in the pick 5, and maybe you can get creative to get a little bit of value underneath. I think the other thing is when you talk about ticket construction, get creative with the other legs of the sequence. That's what you do. Like, if you have a free square, then get creative with the Lake George. Get creative with some of the maiden races that are later in the card. Get creative with some of those other spots. That's where you try to capture a price. People who bemoan a short price, listen, there's few things a bettor should want more than a reliable favorite. And that's exactly what Sovereignty is in this sort of a spot. And so embrace that and get creative around it. You can still make plenty of money on a pick 5. You could make plenty of money on a double potentially, or pick 3. So again, it's just about how you construct it, finding strong opinions in other races, and building around a race like this, as opposed to trying to get maybe too smart for yourself and pick against this. I do look forward to seeing how many of our colleagues pick Sovereignty on Saturday.
It'll be.
I hope it's 100% of them, but I don't put it anything past them.
I mean, as a handicapper, of course, you're going to try to tackle.
As a handicapper, you try to pick winners. That's the number one thing you should do.
You're going to try to find value where you can. I mean, I have such a high opinion on the horse.
Yeah.
That I just didn't even entertain that. That's my opinion, but I'm interested to hear everyone else's.
I'm interested. I'm taking notes.
Everyone should definitely let us know in the comments.
Yes, let us know in the comments. And by the way, I'd also like to take this time to congratulate Hill Road on winning the Jim Dandy because we've not talked about Hill Road almost at all, other than to say he has no early speed.
He's a very nice horse.
He's fine. He's a great
him in the
three-ish
Peter Pan.
Yeah,
I picked him there because
you liked him a lot that day.
He's less pace dependent than you would really think. I just am waiting to see the horse switch leads.
Yeah, we're still waiting. He's been running past the Clark's Cottage all day. He still hasn't done it. Poor horse been running for 30 straight days. No switching leads. We'll see. But listen, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Make sure to press that like and subscribe button here on NYRA Bets YouTube. For Kaylie Shapiro, my name is Matthew DeSantis. Wish you a great, prosperous day at the races. And reminding you, friends, it's now post time.